Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone around the world, as well as watching the replay of this on YouTube. My name is David DeSanto. I'm the Director of Product for the Secure and Defend section. We have a bunch of questions, which is good on the document, so let's dive right in. I don't know, Stella, are you on? Would you like to vocalize your comment?
Sure, and thanks, David. I see you already responded to me. But just to review, my first question is on slides 7 and 21. You mentioned PKI Management and UEBA. And one of the things we have in our OKRs is that we're going to be removing products that are minimal by the end of the quarter. So it seems like you've already addressed this, but I just wanted to make sure that we are on the same page there. And these are things we intended to move off the roadmap for now.
Yes, so just to vocalize what I responded with, that yes, I'm aware of that initiative, and I think I added both those to the OKR for that. There, I guess, two things to kind of be aware of. The first one I wrote in there that, our intent is to focus the Threat Insights team primarily on vulnerability management, and then the dynamic analysis team primarily on SaaS. Those are two categories they have that we want to accelerate this year. The other thing is that we also made the slides a while ago. And so just as a side note, I think if we were to make them this week, we probably would remove them, but we made it about a week and a half ago in preparation for the call. That's just more of an aside, but yes, that we're aware, and yes, they'll be coming off.
Okay, great, thank you.
And then you have question 2 as well.
I do, yes. So on slide 11, it just was really awesome. There was a lot of growth in SMAL between March and April. And you spoke about trying to driven that historically, but my question is, what do you anticipate driving that going forward?
Sure. So for everyone who didn't watch the video, the SMAL related data has a nice big jump between March and April. I agree with Stella. I think it's awesome. I see that being driven by the amount of ongoing evaluations we have for people interested in secure. What I would say is to keep it moving forward, the Secure and Defend PM team is going to stay actively engaged, supporting sales and new engagements, as well as the ongoing evaluations. We have a bunch that are going to kick off again here shortly. So I expect that we should have another good month of SMAL. Beyond that, I would say that we just need to keep on adding great features to the product. And I think we've done that with the last several releases.
Great, thank you.
Then I think Cindy, you have number 3.
Actually, I think Sam answered it. I was just wondering where I could find the walkthroughs of the top competitors. I think that's really awesome that you did that.
Yeah, what I would say is that it's kind of a 2-part. So maybe while I'm talking, Sam can find the other part. So in Q4, we were asked to demo one of the categories in the stage we thought was important. And so within Secure, we chose DAST as its an area of focus. And then on the defense side, the only thing available at that time was WAF. So we used WAF. The Q1 videos are then, as Cindy's asking about, who we consider a direct competitor. Both videos are amazing. Derek and Sam White did a fantastic job. So if you've not seen them on Unfiltered, please go watch them. And then I think, Cindy, you have the next one as well.
Well, actually, Sid was thanking you for the video.
Oh, thank you,
Thanks
Sid.
for the video. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I know you want us to keep it around 5 minutes. We went 10. We just had a lot of things we were excited about.
No, I don't really have a time limit. So all good.
And I was wondering on slide 12, it looks like the SAST scans have leveled off. I'm just wondering if some thoughts on why they might have leveled off, because if the SMAL's going up, I would expect that the scans to go up too. So maybe I'm not looking at it right.
Yeah, Taylor, do you want to vocalize what you have there?
Sure. This is purely speculative, but from my perspective, the last time we added new language support for SAST was in 11.9. So I'd suspect that it's been a whole major release cycle without any new language support. So I suspect we've gained most of the users for the languages that we support today, and that we would need more language support to continue growing in a large sense. The way that is calculated, I believe, is going to normalize down if a user uses multiple scanners.
Okay. I'm just wondering if people are dropping their use, like, are they trying it? So we're showing more users, but then they're not liking it. And that's why number of scans is level.
So I'll add to Taylor's comments, and I think I know we've extended what SaaS can do recently, but the areas in which people are asking about in evaluations are DAST and dependency scanning. And so I think that is why you're seeing a kind of a flat line of SaaS for a little bit. I will say that it is oscillating a little bit. It's a little hard to see in that small picture. We link to the dashboard that's in Periscope if you want to drive into it more, but the current evaluations we have going on, the primary thing those customers are asking about are DAST and dependency scanning. So I think SAST is important. I just don't think it's getting the same amount of attention from new prospects as it maybe did in the past.
Okay.
Would you agree with that, Taylor? Because I know we've been on several of them together.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
And then Sam K, do you want to vocalize your hypothesis?
Yeah, and I'll give another hypothesis on this. As we start to see more and more users start to use secure and defend features, there's going to be a lag time between when they start using it to when it's used everywhere. My prediction is that we'll start to see that going up as kind of a lagging metric from when we see the SMAL numbers go up, as we see customers pushing it out to more and more parts of their environments.
The thing to add is just looking at the number of projects that are doing any kind of vulnerability scanning continues to go up. Looking at the stats, and I'll post the link in the notes, went up 10% from March to April. And that's very consistent with previous months. So it's going up quite a bit from month to month on just number of unique projects.
Thank you, Wayne. And then Sid, you have the next one.
Yeah, on slide 12, I love having that data, but I want to kind of request, and maybe this go beyond this group conversation, but that we never use cumulative charts in anything that is also that we also share within the company, because it's not actionable and it makes something look growing when it isn't, and I don't think it's a useful thing to use within the company.
Yeah, we're going to slowly default back to using SMAO and then North Star when it's ready. To give context as to why I chose those two, I think everybody on the team was very excited that we have seen the growth in the last 9 to 12 months. And so I think internally we were really excited. I'm sure the PMs would agree with this, that like, wow, we've already been used 1 million times, but I get your point and we can avoid those moving forward.
Cool. Yeah, and it's super cool that we hit the million. And consider calling out that fact without like using the graphs. I don't think those graphs should be in Sisense in the first place.
Okay, and then I think Sid, you have the next one as well.
Cool. For container behavior analytics, it says on the page itself, it says Falco. I'll link to an issue that says Wazoo. What do we plan to use, when, and why?
I think that's a great point. On that. Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, so one, the page may be a little out of date and I can take an action item to update that, but I've also been dragging my feet a little bit on updating that just because our engineering team is in the middle of evaluating WASA, and we're not 100% sure right now if we're going to go with WASA or Falco. So certainly the page could be updated to reflect that more clearly, that we're still making that decision, but right now it's pending on engineering research activity.
Cool. Yeah, I just updated that we're considering both. So this is a public live stream, but so far, what have you found? How do the two compare? What are the relative strengths?
You want me to take that, Sam?
Yeah, go for it, Wayne.
So Falco integrates with Kubernetes very well and in a very straightforward way, so that it is very easy. It would be very easy for users to take advantage of it when they're using Kubernetes. But it doesn't have natively many of the features that Sam in product management says we need based on all his discussions with customers. WASA has most of the features that Sam is looking for, that our customers are looking for, but is not quote unquote cloud native. So it's much harder to get it to work in a Kubernetes environment, or sorry, not containers native. So it's much harder to get it to work in a Kubernetes environment without putting other requirements on customers that they may not want, such as having to put an agent into their quote unquote gold container that the WASA agent, so that it can manage and monitor the security at the operating system level. So there's pros and cons on both sides, and we're actually we're continuing to work it asynchronously, and we actually have a synchronous discussion later this week to discuss the results of the analysis.
Thanks
So
for
I do
that.
want to add.
What are those features?
Yeah, so some of those. Yeah, go ahead, David.
Oh no, go ahead. Answer Sid's question. Then I want to clarify one thing that Wayne said.
Okay, yeah, so some of those features include things like application whitelisting, where in a container, only a certain known set of programs should ever be running. And so that allows the ability to specify a list of what those are and prevent any others from running. Another key feature is file integrity monitoring. So certain technologies like, say, Apache, for example, has configuration files that once deployed into production, those files should not be changed. And if they do change, that would be not only an indicator of compromise, but potentially a major security concern. And so that allows, that feature allows the product to make sure that those files don't change. And if they do change, take certain actions to either correct or remediate it. Probably the last one is the ability to do active response. So rather than just alerting when things are, when certain rules are triggered or, a violation has occurred, the ability to actually take a response and block something or, run a script on the system or kill a process or correct a configuration file to its original state. That's another feature that the other one is lacking. And so that's sort of the short list. Those are the big ones at the top of the list. There are other features as well, but happy to discuss more as needed.
Yeah, do you think Falco at some point can add those features, or is just the agentless way they've chosen that's never gonna happen?
I think Falco theoretically can, but there's a lot of catch up to do, but there are other open source projects that we could integrate to meet many of those needs, and which we may or may not want to go down that path. It ends up being a bit of a smorgasbord of different things to potentially integrate rather than going with one solution. So that's something that we're going to discuss later this week on those potential options.
Yeah, today said all the people using Falco in a blocking mode, their commercial offerings, it's not been recontributed back to the open source community. So one of the people that we're looking at as a competitor has actually done that. They're like, here's the open source version, you want to use it, but if you want it to block and do these other things, you've got to pay us for it. We're trying to take that as a slightly different approach and find something that meets the needs and then add value by extending what it can do versus holding features back that may be of value, like a blocking mode. To kind of go back to something Wayne said, I would say it's the impression of engineering that Falco is going to be easier to adopt because it's cloud native first. In the user research we've done, the majority of our customers who would be targets are saying that they today already install an agent in their container for this purpose. And that's because the majority of those people are the main players in the space, like Twistlock, who do that today. And so they usually have said, and Tim can correct this, but it's kind of like yes, that would be great if I didn't have to do that. However, I'm doing this today and it would not be a big change for me. And so we're trying to figure out what meets the requirements of the market without needing to staple a bunch of things together to try to get there. And I think that's why it became of interest.
Yeah,
Cool.
I would just also add that the two are not necessarily mutually exclusive. In fact, I see WASA and Falco being highly complementary to each other because they are hooked in at different layers in the system. Falco can do things that WASA cannot, and vice versa. It just so happens that our customers are more interested in asking for the features that WASA provides, but I don't think that would prevent us from actually running both at some point in the future, to leverage the security benefits of both and have an overall stronger offering. It's really just a question of where do we want to start. And that's what we're trying to answer now.
Cool. Yeah, great. Thanks for the background. Appreciate it. Feel free to invite me as optional to that conversation. Super interesting.
Will do.
Okay, then Sam B, you have the next item.
Yeah, it was just back to the charts on slide 12. There seem to be totals of the amount of jobs run, but in May and October last year, the totals went down, which doesn't seem to make any sense. I was just wondering how that's happened and what that actually means, or maybe I'm misunderstanding what total means.
No, when we were reviewing last week for today, we noticed those dips in there. We're trying to figure out why that is, because it is supposed to be cumulative data, not per monthly usage. And so we're going to look into that, and we can update the slides when we figure that out. I do agree with Sid. I do think the cumulative doesn't show as much value. So I think what we'll need to do is figure out how much time to spend on trying to figure out why that happened versus focusing on getting more concurrent data like SMAO and North Star.
Cool, thank you. I was just curious as to whether I was reading the data wrong or what was happening there, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, and then Cindy, I guess you're asking, did a few large POCs end?
That could have contributed to a dip potentially, I don't know.
It would contribute to a dip on SMAO. I don't know on a cumulative number, which is supposed to be every time a scan is run, a new count gets added versus what it was currently used in that month. But yeah, we talked about it internally. We're gonna figure out why that data looks wrong, and it could be higher than 1 million. Maybe we crossed 1 million earlier than we realized. Okay, we kind of hit the end of the questions. Does anybody have anything they want to vocalize before we wrap up? Okay, well, I want to thank everyone for attending. May the 4th be with you, I think is the right way to sign off this call. And everyone have a great day.